everyone, this is Carolyn Lang, and I'm coming to you from my home office here in a sort of a gloomy day. It's gotten cold again here in Wisconsin, but today I wanted to talk about an awesome TED Talk that I just heard, and the name of the talk was The Power of Vulnerability, and it's by Brené Brown, who is a researcher in Houston. And she's a social worker, researcher, and she you can look her up, Brené Brown. But her point was about human connection. And that human connection, she used the term, we are neurobiologically wired, that connection is the most important thing in our lives. The connection with other people, the connection with our family, other people, exactly. So what she had talked about, I had struggled with how to present this because I thought it was very insightful, very meaningful, but I had originally planned to talk about belief. And so when I had seen her work, I thought, well, that ties in with belief because her research, and I'll get to that, was talking about belief. But then I decided that rather than going on the point of the belief, I would kind of give the background first. And so this is kind of an overview of Brené Brown's The Power of Vulnerability, and then I'll tie that into the business side of things at the end and how that kind of applies to our lives. Because, well, like she had said, everything is about connection and human connection. So anyways, in Brené Brown's research she had done, she was talking about why some people feel connected and why not. Like I said, her background was in some social work. And so she was talking about how shame and fear is really what keeps us from connecting with other people. And I would say that I have found that to be true myself, that whenever I feel shame or fear, I don't, I want to hide that part of me from other people and not show that. And so that keeps you from having connection with the other people. So she had done some research, and she found that the people that were able to connect better with other people and actually have good relationships were the ones that had the fundamental belief that they are worthy. And we all have struggled with different things about being unworthy, that we are not enough. We are not thin enough. We are not tall enough. We are not whatever, smart enough. We are not good enough, that we are not enough in some way. But the people that have the better connections had felt that they were worthy. And so just to summarize her TED Talk, and I encourage you to go and look it up, and maybe I'll put that in the links below as well, but in her summary, she was talking about how these people were wholehearted and that they had a deep sense of worthiness, and four of the things that they really were able to do that she'd found in her research was that they had the courage to be imperfect, and they were okay with not being perfect. And that is also part of that unworthiness feeling. If you aren't perfect, then somebody isn't going to like you or isn't going to love you. So these people had the courage to be imperfect, to be their real, true self. They had compassion. I say grace. They had grace for themselves, not being perfect. They had grace towards other people and noticing that they too were not perfect. They gave each other grace and gave themselves grace, because if you cannot forgive yourself, if you cannot give yourself grace, have compassion for yourself, it's practically impossible to have that on other people, give that to other people as well. The connection that then they had with other people was a result of their authenticity, that they were real. They weren't trying to put up a facade. They weren't trying to pretend to be somebody that they're not. And then they embraced their vulnerability, because being real, being authentic, having the courage to be imperfect, that's the heart of being vulnerable. But they believed that vulnerability was beautiful, It wasn't necessarily comfortable, but that's the way life was. They were able to live their life without any guarantees, and they were able to stop trying to control and predict, try to have predictability. And I would say that personally, I have been on this journey, and as anybody who's been a parent for very long has probably been on the same journey. Where you start out with your kids that you want to keep them from making mistakes, you want to help them, you want to guide them, you want them to have the best life possible, etc., etc. But the message that we send gets all tangled up, and then the message becomes, well, you're not enough, and you're not perfect, and you want to have your child be the best, and like Brene had said in her thing, that she graduates from Yale by the time she's 7 years old. I mean, totally impractical and extravagant idea, but the concept in your brain is, that you want this child to be perfect rather than embracing their imperfections. My youngest son was born with a hemoglobin right on his lip. Hematoma, that was it, sorry. Hematoma right on his lip. It's a big, like they called it strawberry birthmark. And my daughter has one on her shoulder. My mother had one on her shoulder. But this one on Carl's lip was actually very pronounced as a baby. And it was, it looked swollen all the time. And as he grew, of course, he kind of grew into it. And so you don't even notice it unless you know it's there. But I had seen on Facebook somewhere where a woman had a child that was born with this hematoma on her face, and everybody had questioned her, and oh, this is so bad for this poor child. And the mother decided that her child was beautiful the way she was, and so she had found a photographer that had taken pictures of other people with these hematomas on their face, or that were very obvious. And of course, I had considered reaching out to them, but Carl's is basically non-existent compared to what some of these other people had experienced. But that whole idea of embracing the imperfection and the realness of life, and that is exactly what these people that Brene Brown was talking about, rather than wallowing in self-pity or shame or fear, why am I not enough, why am I not able to look like these other people, or whatever, that they just move on. So that is what she was talking about with the wholehearted people having this deep sense of worthiness. And I think that I remember, growing up, I felt that way, and then I ran into some problems, and then I kind of beat myself up, and then I felt back on track, and then you run into some more problems and you kind of beat yourself up again. So it's kind of an ebb and flow type of a thing with this feeling of unworthiness. But it's interesting how Brene had also talked about how we do not like vulnerability, that we want to numb vulnerability. When you are waiting for the doctor to call back with the test results, when you are waiting to find out whether you got that promotion or something, we don't want to think about it. We don't want to deal with it. And I would say that again, I can attest to that, because I know that with certain circumstances in my life, you just put the blinders on, you get busy, you get to work, you just barrel through it, and you come out on the other end. And then 3 or 4 years down the road, you wonder, why are you all upset about something? And it's because you just tried to numb all of this real life that was happening. So the evidence of vulnerability, or the fact that we dislike being vulnerable, is all around us. According to Brene, she said that you can see the evidence, and granted this is one of the symptoms, but we are the most in debt, obese, addicted, and medicated society of adults. And when you think about that, oh my gosh, that is so true. That they talk about comfort food. Well, you don't want to find out about or you heard about that somebody else got the job promotion, and I don't want to think about that. So I'm just going to have, like what she said was a beer and a banana muffin or something, banana nut muffin. So we numb ourselves with those things rather than truly trying to understand and embrace our lives and live them authentically. So when we do numb ourselves, you cannot selectively numb your emotions, though. You numb yourself and then you miss out on gratitude. Think about it. What is so popular right now? The gratitude journals, the de-stressing type things. So people don't have their gratitude, they don't have joy, they don't have their happiness, they don't have their health. And so all of these things are all intertwined. And just because we are trying to have this persona of perfection, and that is not real. So then we are miserable when we are in that way, and we look for purpose and meaning, and then we kind of cycle around, and so it's this continuous circle that goes. So the other things that we do is, she says that we make the uncertain certain, like in politics and religion, rather than embracing the fact that there's mystery or we don't understand the differences between people or something like that. We have to know what we know, and that's it, and we don't have any public discussion or discourse on it. Another thing she says that we try to perfect things and control things because we don't like not knowing. We are impatient. We don't like the pain and the uncertainty of not knowing things, or so we want to try and put them in a nice little box and make it a perfect little solution. And like I talked about for the children, our job is to embrace our children as they are with all their imperfections. We need to know that in this life they will have struggles, and we need to help them along with that. But no matter what, the message needs to be that they're worthy no matter what, rather than be perfect and then I will love you, then I will approve of you. I mean, just think of all of the kids that have this messed up idea of not being worthy. And I would say that in my case of feeling unworthy, I put that on myself. That was not anything that I could pin on my parents. That is my own thinking that I absorbed from other situations later on in life. But there are some people that parents that are doing that to their children, perhaps unknowingly. But if you think about it, though, the idea that you want to give to your kids is that you love them. Of course you love them. That is the whole, that's the parent-child relationship, that they are worthy of your love no matter what, which causes the parent, as a parent, to kind of let go a little bit more. But the other thing that we do is that we pretend that what we do doesn't affect others. And when you are being yourself and you are being authentic, you know that what you do does affect other people. And if you have made a mistake, if you have upset somebody, you just need to be real and go to the other person and apologize and move on and work on the future together. And so anyways, with all of this, with what Brene was talking about, and that is a real short summary. I think she had a 20-minute talk, and this is her life work. She's got a Facebook fan page there that you can go out and find her. And she's written a couple of books. Oprah has even put her in her classes. So she's really very, very popular right now. And I think well-deserved. But what she was talking about was in the fullness of it is that really what people want, what people are looking for, is to let yourself be seen as who we are, as a real person, the authenticity, and believe that we're enough and that we love with our whole heart. And that's all about being authentic. Okay, so that's the background. Now, so my question was, do you believe that you're enough? And so with all of that for the background of it, how this I felt really tied into business and life. I'm going to talk to it about as far as the business goes. I know a lot of people that have been with different companies, network marketing companies, small companies, whatever kind of a business that you have, and it might even be in other areas as well. It certainly isn't limited to business. But how come it is that you work and work and work and you don't succeed? I mean, there are, I had referred to the comparison game before, and really I don't mean that in the negative way as in comparison. Perhaps a better word would be analysis. If you really look at and analyze why one person is successful and why you are struggling, and if you can see that, you know, you have the same knowledge, you have basically the same skill set, you have the same opportunities, the same background. You know, if you accept all of those things as being the same, well, what is the difference? The difference is your belief. Your belief in whether or not you can do it, whether you deserve it, whether you are enough, the belief that you are enough. And I just heard of a man who had been in a business, and he'd been in the business for many years, 15 years, I believe, and he realized that he was self-sabotaging. He would get to a certain achievement, and then it never worked. It never happened. But yet, he would do other things, and I've asked myself the same question. You know, why am I not doing this? I know that this is good for me or something. And the example that they used was that he would go out running in the rain every day because he believed, not the rain every day, sorry. He would go out running, rain, sleet, snow, whatever. He would go out running on a daily basis because he believed that that was going to give him good health and allow him to feel better and keep him alive longer. So he believed that. He didn't have any real evidence, I guess you could say, whether he was going to have a long life, because he hadn't been there, of course, but he believed it. So he did it. He did the work, he did the actions, and then he is in good shape. So why was he not achieving in his business? Because he didn't believe that he could. He didn't have the belief in himself or the belief in his business or believe that he was worthy enough. And so he would self-sabotage. And I would say, you know, I was identified with this man because I thought, I know what I need to do. I'm not afraid to do it. I know the things that I have to do to achieve the goals that I want for myself. So what is holding me back? And I thought, it's the belief system that I have of whether or not I could do it, whether I was worthy of doing it, whether I was good enough to do it, all of those things, the belief. So when you analyze yourself against other people and kind of try and figure it out, I mean, maybe you don't know something and that's what's keeping you back. But if you have had all the training the same, and if you are not having success, then belief is foundational. The belief that you can do it and that you deserve to do it, that you are worthy to achieve success. So if you think about it too, in where is your focus? If you are afraid, if you don't feel worthy, if you are self-limiting, then that is fear of and you are looking at yourself and you are focusing on yourself. But if you believe that you are capable and you are confident that you are worthy of it, then you can start focusing on other people and how you can help other people and how you can bring goodness to the lives of other people. And once you get to that point, then you are much better with your level of belief and your feeling of worthiness and you are willing to embrace your imperfections, you are willing to just get out there and do what you need to do and get started, because of course everybody was a beginner, everybody was a student before they became a professional. So that is all tied and snarled into this belief idea. But that was the what I had wanted to talk about. And when you think about, just one other thing was, why is this Facebook Live so popular right now? Because I certainly am not a professional broadcaster. Now, there are some people who are very good, but they, I would bet, either have had a lot of training, that they did this in their, in their jobs, in their IRL, in real life, or they have done a lot of Facebook Lives. And so, of course, as you do things over and over, you get practice and you get better. So, but the Facebook Lives are so popular right now because you get a peek at the person, the real person behind those Facebook profiles, and you get to see what they are all about. Hi, Robin. Thanks for joining me. And so people are craving authenticity. They are craving reality. They are craving the connection. That's the ultimate. They are craving the connection with other people. And so if you want to improve in your life and be happier, you need to grant yourself some grace that you are imperfect. Grant other people grace that they are imperfect. And be willing to have the courage to step out and just be the real you. So I hope that was some helpful information, or at least made you think a little bit about that. And if that's something that you feel like maybe somebody else could benefit from, feel free to share it. And if you did share it, then make sure that you drop down in the comments and write shared, so I can come back and thank you for sharing it, because I do that as well. So with that, I will let you go, and we'll talk with you tomorrow. Have a great day, Robin. Thanks.